this is the second tutorial on how to mix and master with Sony ACID. So we are going to look at the Sony ACID interface. So when you open your Sony ACID we had installed in the first tutorial, this is what you get. Over here, this is where this is the workspace that you will need. This is where you will be inserting your tracks, and down here is where you will explore. So instead of going to third-party software to get your songs, you will need them here. That is that. Then the next thing we have here is the mixing console. So here is where it shows how many tracks you have inserted and how many tracks have been deleted. So when you come up here, you will get the file, the edit, the view, the insert, the tools, and option, and also help. Like any other software, you will need help. You will need help. So this is where it carries all the keyboard shortcuts, the Control Z, everything what you need, all the shortcuts you need in Sony ACID, they are all there. So I will screenshot this, or if maybe you have the software, it's good. So in the option we have snapping. Here when you enable snapping, it will snap to the next grid that is available. Then the grid spacing, we have the default is ruler mark. You will leave it at that, and any other thing is just fine. At default it is just fine. It will not be affected during the journey of making mixtapes on Sony ACID. So another thing here is also the loop playback. We will mostly use this when we want to repeat part, a section when mixing in Sony ACID. So we will get to know those features there. So insert, we have got insert marker. This one is going to help us a lot when we need to transfer our mixtapes to another software, which is the Sony Vegas. Tempo, let's say at a certain point you want to increase the tempo of the mixtape, you will have to shift T or click on letter T. View, this is basically what you see, the interface you see. Maybe you want to change, maybe you want to remove. So maybe you want to remove the Explorer, because this is Explorer. So when you want to move it, just uncheck it and the software and the Explorer goes. So you can return it back by just going back to the view, then clicking the Explorer. It's that simple. So in the edit, this only works when maybe you have loaded a track on the workspace. So you can undo what you have undone, you can redo. You can cut, you can copy, you can paste, you can delete, you can select all, which is Control A, like most of us know. You can paste, repeat what you have repeated, you can repeat the paste. So you can group. Here we have the editing tools. You can draw, you can paint, you can select. A lot of shortcuts are here when you want to learn. So what you do first is be well conversant with the software, be well conversant with the the shortcuts, the keyboard shortcuts. It will help you take your work to the next level. Another thing is the new. When you want to open a new project, you will click on Control New to open a new project. When you want to open an existing project, you will click on Control O. And when you want to save your work, like I really think this work you have not saved it yet, so you can click on Control S, then you can save it to anything. Anything. So that is that. Another thing, in the file tab, we have discussed on new, open, save, save as, and then what we will also use here is the render as. After working on your project, you need to render it as a certain file, and the default file that is found on the Sony ACID software is the WAV file, but obviously we can also find the MP3 that most of us know, the MP3. So when you want to exit, you can exit that, the alternate form. Here we have the recent project that we have been working on. So if you have a lot of projects and you have opened Sony ACID and you don't see it, you can go to recent. You will automatically see one of your projects here. So this is the project we are working on currently. That's the anything that I have saved at the .acid file. So I think we are good at that. So in Sony ACID, when you are working in Sony ACID, there is the what we call the tracks. Each and every track has got its own, or when you are working on a workspace. Right now you see the workspace is blank. You have to insert the tracks which will allow you to insert your songs, or your playlist, or on the song that you are working on. So to insert tracks, you just press on Control Q, depending on the number of tracks that you need. You press on Control Q to insert. To delete your track, you can press on Control Z to undo. Same thing. So maybe you need around 5 tracks, 1 2 3 4 5, that you need them. Then when maybe you see the volume of the each track is low, is at around negative 6.0 decibels. That is to tell you the output of the mixtape will not be heard that much. So what you do here is you click on Control A so that you rationalize the decibels. So you double click to make them at 0.0 decibels. So I think you can now see the workspace is ruled, and now you can insert tracks, play them. In my next tutorial, we will be talking on how to beat match, and also to ensure that your songs are well arranged. But before I leave, we have got this tool here called the draw tool. The draw tool, that is what will help you to move the song, or the part of the song, or the scratches, and a lot of things. You have got the erase tool. We can erase a part of a song. We can erase, especially the tool. The erase tool is always being used on when making cuts. We always use the erase tool. So this tool and the erase tool will always be used. Another tool that I think will be used most of the time is the selection tool. You will have maybe to select it, and maybe if you want to copy it to the next page, you click and drag. So that will tell you that will have pasted it to the next track. So here we have got the project tempo. Project tempo is the overall tempo of the mixtape you're working on. The overall mixtape that you're working on matters a lot. You cannot key in a higher project tempo, knowing very well that the project the BPM of each song is at a certain value. The problem is always on reggae. Working on reggae mixtape, you find that most people are working on BPM, or project tempo is maybe 90 or 100. It doesn't work that way. So maybe for this scenario, if I have around 90, so it will help you get a good sound quality. It's not too fast, it's not too slow, it's just in the middle when working. So another thing also, when working on your project, you have this is called the loop region. Most of the time when people are working in the ACID projects, you find that this thing is left out. When you are working on a project and maybe you need to render a certain part of a project, you will need to lose the loop region. For example, let me drag this over here, then minimize or decrease the loop region. Then to say, for instance, I only want to hear the part that I have, this part alone. So let me deactivate it. You can right click the part, the loop playback, activate it so that it plays up to the level you can also add it to play so that when it reaches here, it goes back. So I think that is that for today. On our next tutorial, I think we will be discussing on how to beat map our song.